In the last video, I had left you with an intriguing graph from Acemoglu's paper, Reversal of Fortunes. The graph, with the urbanization rate 500 years ago plotted against development outcomes today, reflects a negative correlation. If we had to put this in words, the graph is basically saying the following. The richer a country was in 1500 AD, again as measured by the rate of urbanization, the poorer you are today. This is a shockingly counterintuitive result. Think about it. You expect the opposite. You expect development outcomes in the past to be a good predictor of development in the future. In other words, you expect countries that were richer in the 15th century to be richer today and vice versa. Let's think about the significance of this result by drawing an analogy. Say that we were conducting a time series analysis of how a child's height evolves over time. Let's say you take a cohort of kids and measure their heights over, let's say, 20 years. Let's say we measured them first when they were first graders. You notice a normal curve. Some kids are above the average, others below the average, and a large number of them clustered around the mean. But what do you think this curve will look like 20 years from now? Clearly, you would expect the taller kids to become taller adults, and we should expect, barring of course stochastic events that could change outcomes systematically, the distribution to remain roughly the same. But what if your data revealed that the opposite had occurred? What if you found that the taller you were as a first grader, the shorter you are as a 25-year-old adult? This would be a bizarre and counterintuitive result. Clearly, you would argue, something had gone terribly wrong during those 2 decades. Something had systematically retarded the growth of the tallest. Using this analogy, let's return to the problem of long-run economic development. Let's try to think about it in functional terms. We are trying to explain long-run development, which is analogous to the height of the child in my analogy. Let's call it h. This is our outcome or explained variable. Put simply, it's the outcome that we want to explain. What does the height of the child or long-run development depend on? Can you try describing it in a functional form? Clearly, there will be genetic factors at play. Taller parents will have taller kids. Let's call these factors collectively nature. Similarly, every country is endowed with particular natural elements, geography being the primary one. Additionally, there will be factors such as nutrition, quality of care, participation in physical exercise, a parent's income, etc. In the case of a country, these could be things such as institutions, policies, laws, stuff that human beings design. Let's call these factors nurture. Okay, so now we have a functional form to work with. The long run development of a country, H, is a function of two things, nature and nurture. Formally speaking, in econometric terms, we could write this out as in Acemoglu's model. In this model, the urbanization rate in 1500 AD is one of the x's and long-run development is the outcome variable. He expects the coefficient on this x to be positive. Countries that were more urbanized in 1500 AD should be expected to be more developed today. But the data reveals the opposite. Now, as he says in the paper, this result is mortal to any story based on geography. Like the genes of the child, geography does not change over time. The mountains and rivers and oceans that make up the geographic terrain of a country are more or less similar over time. They are what we call in econometrics time invariant. They do not change over time. Acemoglu's thesis reveals a deep problem for the geography thesis. How could the same set of natural factors that had led to higher rates of development prior to the 15th century suddenly result in opposite outcomes in the long run? Clearly, something what Acemoglu calls a reversal of fortunes had occurred in economic history. According to Acemoglu, the reversal of fortunes is explained by examining colonialism and its impact on institutions and, as a result, economic history. Let's now turn to Jared Diamond and the geography hypothesis. Hopefully, you've had a chance to watch the documentary Guns, Germs, and Steel. Here are my questions for you. What is his central argument? Do you find it convincing, especially in the light of the recent epidemic? How would he respond to Acemoglu's reversal of fortunes argument? Is a synthesis possible between these two positions? I look forward to hearing your views in the discussion forum.